Good morning, everybody. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And Tamask to Dayang and all the gang that came earlier to at least give me a couple of likes. Much appreciated. So I hope everybody's doing well on this Sunday morning. Excuse me. But yes, today I will be talking about the movie Megan, which was just released here in Canada, but apparently it was released in other countries and or cities earlier, but it was just recently released. So I went to see it yesterday afternoon after going to spend a little bit of time with my mom. So I hope that you guys will enjoy this video and commentary. Now, of course, there will be spoiler alerts for this video, guys. I will be revealing some of the plot points to the movie. So if you haven't seen it and you plan on going to see it, maybe pause this video and watch it after you've seen the movie. Or if you don't mind plot details being revealed or you don't care about this movie at all, then please sit down, get some popcorn and something to drink, and hopefully you'll enjoy this video. Now, Megan is a horror movie. You guys know that that's what I enjoy watching and reviewing, although this one technically is more of a sci-fi horror movie. But sci-fi, I also enjoy talking about, although I haven't reviewed a sci-fi movie in quite some time, but I'll try to find one that's good. There's one that I have in mind, but I haven't had a chance to remember the name of the movie. It is on Netflix, and I do plan on trying to find the name of the movie so I can get back to showing it. And like I said, hopefully you guys will enjoy this particular movie review. So we'll get into it in a few seconds here. I do want to finish getting something here before I start the movie here, the movie review, I should say. So hopefully you guys will like it. There we go. Just had to always have a second screen going with my video in YouTube. So, yeah, today we will be talking about Megan just after I show my channel intro. So, I'll be back in 25 seconds, guys. Sorry, guys, I was trying to also stuff my face with breakfast before my little clip ended, but unfortunately, my timing was a little bit off, so I had to stuff my face with food and then put myself on mute. But we are back, and yes, we will be talking about the movie Megan. So, like I said, I did see it yesterday afternoon. Now, overall, I have to say that I did not like this movie. I was very disappointed in it. It was hyped up as a really great horror movie, and oh my God, you're gonna poop your pants and everything. I, to be honest, was very bored with the movie, but I'll get into details. And as usual, guys, my lives won't be very long, probably half an hour, 45 minutes, something like that. But also, of course, that depends on your participation. I know that there's two other people in the chat, so depending on how you guys participate, all that, this could be longer. So to give you guys a basic summary of the movie, now Megan is an android, okay, and at the beginning of the movie, you see uh, Ava and Ryan and their daughter Caddy, not Candy. At first, I'm like, why are they pronouncing Candy, not the right way, but it is Caddy, so Cady. You see them going up a mountain, driving up a mountain to go skiing for what we presume is the weekend or what have you, maybe even just the day, who knows. But unfortunately, they get struck by a snow plow. The parents unfortunately pass away. During that same time, you see uh, Ava's sister, Gemma, working at Funky, which is a game store, manufacturer, etc. Um, and she is one of the employees there that is basically a roboticist. Okay, I will be having trouble with that word. I tried pronouncing it quite often to practice, but I will be struggling with that word. And she's very good at her job. She created this really fancy toy, and her boss is on her butt to try to create a cheaper version of the toy because apparently the competition is basically slamming them. And the boss, of course, wants to, make money. Companies are out there trying to make profit, right? Like any other company. And she basically doesn't really want to, because for her, she's thinking, hey, in the long term, what we need to do to really get up ahead in front of the competition is creating a unique toy that's so complex that nobody can beat us, nobody can replicate this toy. So that's why she's trying to create Megan. So she's now hiding away in a particular secret lab. Unfortunately for her, the boss finds her and, basically demands to enter the room and all that. So begrudgingly, Gemma does a mini demonstration for the boss, knowing full well that it's not quite ready. Megan isn't quite finished yet. And unfortunately, the doll face explodes, just basically ruin her chances in the immediacy to really prove herself to the boss. So of course the boss walks away all mad at her, demanding this and that and all that stuff. And of course she then finds out that her sister Ava and her brother-in-law Ryan did pass away in a car accident, and now she has to care for Caddy, her niece. So the next following scenes, you see Caddy coming to the new home, and you can see that both Caddy and Gemma are very awkward at it. Obviously, Gemma was in the car and obviously is very traumatized by the death of her parents. She obviously had minor injuries herself. So there's a big psychological and physical recovery that she has to go through. And for Gemma, she's never been that motherly type of woman. So she doesn't have a home that's child ready. She doesn't really know what to say or do to welcome the child and to really make it more of a relaxed and safe area for the kid. And at one point, of course, Caddy is having trouble sleeping and notices Gemma working in her office. And Gemma did say, oh, you know what? I need to step away. But of course, Gemma loses track of time. So Caddy comes into the room. And, at first, Gemma's apologetic and tries to, this is what I do at my job. This is what I say, da da da. This all, everything I construct. And Gemma shows Caddy a prototype that she had did for Megan while she was in college. And Caddy's absolutely mesmerized and impressed by this prototype, and says to her, if this toy existed, I would not need any other toy. So this inspires, of course, Gemma to really go in and work on Megan. And she emails the boss saying, you know what, never mind that other toy that you want me to make, forget it, I have to delay. And she really goes in hard on finalizing Megan and really having a working version of that android. And yes, Megan is an android. Okay, so the difference between a robot, I know this is a tangent, a difference between a robot and an android. A robot is programmed just to do things, right? So your computer is a robot. Your microwave can be considered as a robot, right? It's just you press a couple buttons and it does things. While as an android, although you can tell it to do things, it is much more self-aware and can decide to do things, right? There's a certain amount of creative liberty as to what it does and how, right? So that's where you obviously have a little bit of issues, and this will be something that will come into play. Now, it's also important to note that There's a couple little minor issues here with Caddy and Gemma. uh Already Gemma does have collectibles, and we all know some collectibles are valuable if they stay in the box and are unplayed with. So when the therapist comes in and, hey, aren't there any toys, what about these, what about that, uh you know Caddy says, oh no, those are collectibles, I can't really play. Of course, it puts this Gemma in a position where it's like, oh well, yeah, we can actually play. And you see that it kind of destroys Gemma a little bit, to have to like literally destroy one of the toy boxes for her niece to play with, the toy that was inside, because for her, toys, no, we don't, kids don't play with toys, these are collectibles. So you see that already there's a certain amount of conflict building out, and that also see that Gemma is a very high tech minded type of person. She does have a Alexa type device in her home. Now, it's important that you guys keep this in mind, and because it will come into play at the end of the movie. So, anyways, so she finally, sorts out all the bugs with Megan, and she decides, you know what, I need to present this to save my job, and the jobs of obviously the colleagues that were helping her, um, to my boss, and say, you know what, I finally finished Megan. So she brings her niece, because the toy is obviously meant for children. So she brings in the toy and her niece, and sort of has them in a presentation room. And the boss is elated by this whole thing, and it's like, oh my god, it's amazing. You see that Megan really performs very well and interacts with the child in a way that's very unique. Because when you look at a lot of these similar toys, right, um, a lot of these toys, you just have two or three basic responses that are pre-programmed and are just random responses, right? Whereas with Megan, you see that both Caddy and Megan are actually interacting with each other, sort of in a similar way where you see, any two, 6 or 7, 8 year olds interact with each other, right? There's not a huge difference in how Megan and Caddy are interacting with each other. So, of course, this convinces the boss that, oh my God, this is fantastic. We have to put this in production, yada, yada, right? So, of course, he then also sets up a meeting with the bigwigs at the company, because obviously this is the kind of tech that is going to be expensive. It's not cheap to make an Android, especially one that is highly realistic and uses high level AI, right? Because obviously, um, you're going to have to create an Android that's responding in real time in a way that's fluid, that's natural, and that just seems like this is how a person would actually interact, right? As not even just a person, but like the kinds of responses you might expect a 7 year old to say to another 7 year old, right? So you have this high intelligent being, right? This robot, this android that's talking to a 7 year old. So, anyways, the boss, like I said, is really impressed. But because the android is now paired with Caddy, she convinces the boss to let her take Megan home, because she, says that, hey, look, these two have to continue interacting. It will build the program. It will allow Megan to be better prepared, and make it much more natural for when we do, I think they said, in a week, when we go to present Megan and Caddy to the bigwigs of the Funky Corporation. So during that week, there's a couple of minor incidences. One is relatively serious, but there's a couple incidences with the neighbor. Now, it was established at the beginning that Gemma and the neighbor don't really get along, mainly because of the dog, right? She always like, oh, the dog is always on my yard because of the hole that's in the fence, etc. So already you see that there's a little bit of tension between the two neighbors. And on one of the days that, both Megan and the daughter, the niece, sorry, I should say, Caddy, are home. Uh, Caddy is like, well, where do I find this particular toy? I can't find it. Megan spots it in the yard of the neighbor, so she goes in through the hole to get the toy, and unfortunately, the dog attacks the toy. And of course, Caddy comes running to try to save Megan. Because at this point she is a little bit attached to Megan. Don't forget, Caddy is 7 years old. The brain of a 7 year old. For them, Megan is a real person, right? She has grown attached to this excuse me, to this toy. For her, she doesn't look at Megan as an android, a robot, or a toy. She looks at Megan as a real 7 year old. So, uh, Caddy goes in there, tries to save Megan, is also bitten by the dog. So that adds more issues. And now the police are also involved because obviously Gemma feels like, oh, the dog attacked the baby, and well, not the baby, but the kid, and now all that. So that grows a certain amount of tension with the neighbors as well. So basically at 1.2 now, they're back home and everything is working and good with Megan. But at 1.2, Caddy now has to be enrolled in school. Now, obviously, Caddy's like, well, no, I've been homeschooled. Why do I need to go to school? Again, Gemma is like, well, you know what? I'm not meant to be your mother here. I have a career. I have to go to work. So yeah, unfortunately, I do have to send you to school. Um, so she's like, look, I'm gonna have to bring you to this special school where it's much more, you're in the forest, it's much more liberal and not your typical school, right? It's an alternative school. And of course, Caddy really doesn't want to go, especially not without Megan. Gemma really doesn't want Megan to be going around because, again, this is a prototype and they don't need, a prototype toy to be out there. And then people taking pictures and, the competition. Oh, wait, there's this new toy. Let's get it. But anyways, they, they bring the Megan and the niece Caddy to this alternative school. And of course, as predicted, there's an incident with one of the children at the school. Unfortunately, this boy, unfortunately, bullies Caddy in a very secluded part of the school because this is a school that's in the forest essentially, or at the very least, they have a trip in the forest, and the boy unfortunately dies. Um, of course, the police investigate and say, yeah, it seems like an accident at first because of the boy dies by being hit by a car. Um, but they're like, well, we found part of his ear at this amount of distance from the road. So like this might not actually be an accident. So we have to look into what happened. So of course, that's when Gemma starts to suspect a little bit of Megan, and take note. Also, at this point, the neighbor's dog goes missing as well. So there's all these weird events that all of a sudden are happening now that Megan is living at the house. So of course Gemma investigates and she remembers, well, Megan has all these recordings of her days. When Gemma goes in to investigate, all of a sudden she gets error messages. She can't access the videos. So, hello, Lashes Journey. How are you? Thanks for being here. Hope all is well. I know you published a couple of videos. I will be watching your videos later on, but thank you for being here. I'm going through right now, Lashes Journey, a summary of the movie Megan that I saw yesterday. And then, obviously, in a couple seconds, once I'm done, I'll give you guys my personal opinion of it. But I did say earlier, I wasn't really impressed with this movie. Anyways, I hope everything is well with you, Lashes, and with your husband and children. And boy, I can't believe the little one, baby boss, is already a year. It feels like it was just yesterday. He was only 3 or 4 months old. But anyways, I'm glad that he's grown up to be a happy, healthy boy and has a wonderful mother taking care of him. Anyways, we're going to continue with my summary. So that's when, of course, Megan starts to say, hey, look, you need to start behaving in a certain way if you know what's good for you. So, of course, uh, you know, Gemma's like, I need to intervene here. I need to do something. So she does manage to deactivate Megan and bring her to the office and tries to explain to her coworkers, hey, wait a minute, we need to do something here. The Megan, the doll is not acting in a way that's normal, and that's when she realizes, oh wait, I didn't put in perimeters, so she didn't put any kind of parental controls and things like that, right? So basically this android that's difficult to manage doesn't have any quote unquote moral code, right? uh, hello, Tara. How you doing? Tamask for being here. Thank you. I'm so glad to see you here, and thank you for also sending other individuals. I know they came earlier. I know you didn't send them, but you know what I mean. But thank you, Tara, for being here. I hope you're doing very well this morning. And I did enjoy your live as for as long as I could stay in it. I know I had to leave at some point, but I was semi jealous that you're like you put yourself out there to do karaoke. I don't have that kind of courage. I don't know how you do it. I could not. I don't want people hearing me singing. It's not a good sing. I am not good at singing at all. But yes, thank you for your support, Tara. And yes, if you like me, if you need to leave at any point, don't worry. I don't blame you. I know you can watch and replay and all that. So, but thank you, Tara, for your support. And of course, to you as well, Lashes, for being here as well. So yeah, so of course, at this point in the movie, that's when all the bad things you think can happen actually happen, right? So of course, Megan realizes that she's basically going to be deactivated permanently, and consequently, she will not be able um, to protect Caddy. So I'm gonna show you guys this little clip. It has a moment where it's a little bit violent. Okay, so if you guys have sensitivity to what can be seen on a screen, it's not uberly horrible. Okay, but it is quite suggestive. Okay, you will see blood, so I definitely suggest that you guys come back in, let's say, a minute if you see that. Ooh, you're not too big on seeing blood and all that stuff, but it's only for a couple of seconds. But especially for you, Lashes, I know you have young children, so you do need to be mindful of that. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. You won't be able to hear anything, okay, but you'll be able to see. And besides, for this clip, hearing the music isn't that important. So I'm going to share my screen, and then in a moment we'll be able to go on. So I will do a little mini countdown as well, so that way if you guys need to turn away from the screen or be mindful of who's around watching, etc., you'll be able to act in consequence. So I'm gonna play the video. As you see, it's a 30-second video. I'll be playing the video in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So of course, here at the end, you see this little bit. Obviously, at the end here was not part of the movie. So yeah, it has ended. So if you guys don't mind, we'll stop the sharing. So yeah, that's as much violence as I'll be showing for today's video. But and obviously, if you guys did not see this clip, because I might have to remove it later on for copyright issues, I will include a link. So that's one of the two clips that are used as promo for the movie. And obviously, other than the last maybe 5 seconds, that is a clip in the video. And basically, obviously, everything goes batshit crazy, right? And Megan unfortunately escapes the lab, and as you can see, unalive several people, including the boss. The Asian dude that you saw in this clip is the boss I was talking about earlier. The other individual is his assistant, and Megan reveals to him that she knows he was stealing company property, including all the files related to Megan. He also does not survive. And then, of course, Megan goes after Gemma and Caddy, essentially. Now, Gemma and Caddy do escape, but they do have to basically destroy the prototype that I talked about earlier, and as well, Megan herself. But if you guys were here at the beginning, you'll remember that I said that Gemma has a Siri type of device, Siri, Alexa, whatever you want to call it. I know she used a particular term for it, but she has that kind of device. And in the last clip of the scene, you see that device turn on and look towards Megan and towards Gemma and Caddy, implying that there's a sequel because, well, Megan is now in the Siri type device. So, anyways, that's the summary of the video. Now, what did I think about the movie? Like I said earlier, I really didn't like it. I found it very boring. Uh, Basically, because the clip that I just showed you and the other clip showing the boy being attacked and unalived by Megan were really the only two scary scenes in the whole movie. There really wasn't anything horrific about this movie. There's a lot of it that was potentially scary, but it really fell flat. Now, it kind of sucks that the two only scary parts were also used as promo, and I get it, because it's like, how are you gonna get people to come in and watch a scary movie? Well, you're gonna show the scary parts of the movie, but when that's the only scary parts, you're like, well, that was a disappointment. There's nothing other than those two scenes that are scary. There's lots of things that could have been scarier. Like at one point, you see the niece being very protective of Megan, and she's like, she understands that something's gonna happen to Megan, but she doesn't understand what it is. At one point, I was thinking, oh, the niece is now gonna somehow go and attack Gemma, right? She's gonna somehow do something. And near the end of the movie, you do see Caddy come around and hear the real Megan come out and think, oh wait, there's and I thought maybe at this moment that's when the niece would gang up on her aunt Gemma with Megan. But no, she comes in and defends. And it's like there's all these opportunities like this where you would think, okay, she's gonna, there's gonna be more to this. There's gonna be something scarier. And in the same video clip that I just showed you, I commented as a reply to somebody else that although, like the movie, you have the movie Juan, which is I think The Ring, which is also a slow build. With Juan, you get the sense that there's a whole multitude of things that could go wrong, and a lot of it does actually get wrong, right? In that movie, you see at one point the house tricks one of the girls to go into the house. You see people that don't understand how the rules work and end up passing away because of it. So there's lots of little things that go wrong. With this movie, the only thing that really went wrong was that Gemma didn't put any parental controls, or didn't put any parameters, as she calls it, right? So if she had done that, the whole movie would it wouldn't have happened, right? That's the whole premise of this movie. If and that's what is frustrating about this movie is that Gemma is presented as this capable, intelligent woman who's a roboticist by specialization. That's her whole job, and she knows even just physically how dangerous the android Megan can be. She goes and describes that, oh well, she's using this kind of steel to titanium, and anybody that knows about titanium, if a quote unquote titanium hand squeezes yours too much, your hand is destroyed, right? So you would think that this woman who's in robotics, who's highly intelligent, highly capable, knows that, hey, we're using a material that could destroy somebody's hand if it's used in the wrong way. You would think her first one of the first things that she would do is make sure to put in place these perimeters, these parental controls, however you want to call it, to make sure that the least amount of bad things happen, right? So it was kind of frustrating that that's the whole movie hinged on that, right? That Gemma just didn't put in parental control. She didn't put in the right perimeters, right? And it's like, really, the whole movie was that. And it just and of course, once you see the ending of the movie, you kind of like, okay, they just want to, they just want to make a sequel, and maybe in the sequel they might go more in depth with things, maybe. But you sense that this was a money grab movie, and I was really disappointed because James Wan, I know I didn't mention that earlier, he was part of the Saw movies, right? So him and Lee Wanell wrote, directed, and produced the first Saw movie. They were part of the third one as well, I believe, and maybe one or two others. But they also were part of the Insidious movies and the spin-offs and so forth. Lee Wanell wasn't part of all those ones, I think, but at the very least, James Wan was. Um, so I expected more from this movie from somebody that's been part of the horror movie genre for 10, 15 years now at the very least, right? So I was expecting this to be like a lot more. Like I found, like, even now talking about it, like that the music and sound effects make a huge difference in a movie, right? Especially with a horror movie. And like there were times where they did a good job of like having the special effects, and like, well, not special effects, well, yeah, technically it's special effects, with the music and the sound of the robot Megan moving. You hear the mechanical part of her. You can hear that she's not a normal human being. She's not a 7-year-old kid, right? You hear it in the mechanical movements of the android, right? So at that, like, the tiny little levels like that, they did a good job. But the music wasn't like that spooky music that you expect, and it's a shame. But it doesn't have to be. And that's the thing with music, it doesn't always have to be the typical scary music. If you guys watch my two sentence horror stories, you guys hear that I'm using the typical horror movies music that you would expect, right? But sometimes even a classical music song, just a little bit of it, a little specific part of it, can be very scary, right? So it's not always about finding the typical scary music or the typical sound effects. Sometimes just having a sound that you would not associate with a horror movie will make it a lot scarier, right? So they really didn't, for a movie where I got that sense that they wanted to make a slow burn, they really didn't build up to that. And that's the thing with a good horror movie. You realize that it's not just the story that you're giving me a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. Um, but you also have to build up on the atmosphere of, there's tension in that wait. You're waiting to see what happens. You're anxious of what happened. I didn't feel like that at all. I just felt like, okay, when are we get into this two scary clips that we saw earlier? Literally, that's what it felt like. I was just waiting for those two clips to present themselves, and that's it. And it kind of just felt in the comment that I made on that video, I kind of just felt like it was the slow build was more lazy and unimaginative rather than okay, we're building a world that can go wrong in so many different ways and actually does go wrong in so many different ways. This one went wrong just because, like I said earlier, just because, well, Gemma couldn't be bothered to put parameters in a android that could like literally unalive you with her hand. Like it just felt like ridiculous, and even like how and why Megan goes after people just felt like, oh, you didn't do something that I didn't like, so I'm now unaliving you. And it's like you have this android that has access to all human information, right? She can go on the internet, which is why she took control of that Siri type device, right? She has access to things, and that's another way that okay, if the world goes wrong, you have this android that literally wants to destroy people, right? It could have gone so wrong in so many different ways. She could have uh unalive Gemma in a way that was so much more smarter, right? I think Tesla, not Tesla, but Gemma drives a smart car of some kind, or at the very least, a car that's more heavily, reliant on computers. She could have unalived Gemma by taking control of the car. Because you do see uh, Megan do that in the movie near the end. She takes control of a car. So even how she's unalive people doesn't seem highly intelligent. It's just the typical way of I'm gonna choke you to death, or I'm gonna use a blade from those paper cutters machines and unalive you through that, right? There's no I'm going to unalive you in a smart way, in an intelligent way. The only time I saw her do that a little bit was when she unalived the neighbor's dog and the neighbor. Okay, because oh yeah, that I sorry I didn't completely passed over that, but she did unalive the neighbor who had the bad dog at the same time. So yeah, so overall the movie I really didn't like it. The special effects, like the making of Megan as well, because obviously they wanted to make Megan look like a real child as much as possible. I, actually, let me rephrase that. They wanted to make her look like a real robot child, right? That it was clear that there's something about this person that's not a real human being. I know there's a word for that, but we naturally have a fear of things that look human but aren't. And Megan, even the video, the clip that I showed you, she looks human, but we know she isn't, right? And that does play into our nature, and again, that's something that could have gone wrong. What if you had this child that looks absolutely, totally, 100% human, but doesn't? And it kind of reminded me of this whole movie reminded me of two other movies, of course, of Chucky, where of course Chucky goes and does bad things to people, um and is an inanimate doll, because Chucky himself is in a good boy doll, right? It's Chucky is a a criminal that passes away and uses black magic to inhabit a doll and then goes on a rampage. So you have that element of that movie, but it also reminded me of Ex Machina, which is again a smart person building an android. But here he does a type of Turing test where he's trying to figure out, could this robot pass as a human being? And that human being, and that sorry not that human being, but that android does escape where they are and ends up in the middle of humanity. So the reason why I bring up those two movies is that I see those two movies as what Megan could potentially have been, right? Where you see with Chucky, the death, there's a purpose to it, right? He's not just doing it because, oh, you said something I didn't really like. You see that he's doing things because, well, I want to get back and inhabit a human body, so I have to do these rituals, I have to do this, I have to do that, blah blah blah, blah, right? There's a reason behind it, and it's a reason that makes sense. And what's good with Ex Machina is that the robot, the android, right, pretends to be this wonderful, and oh, I'm just, this poor sweet little android, and I'm being abused, and oh, poor me, won't you help me? Won't you save me? Blah blah blah, in order to escape and end up in humanity. And she does because she looks so human. So again, it's that's what makes those two movies scary, right? Is that you have these artificial beings that both want the same thing. They both want to integrate themselves into humanity for different reasons, right? But they still want it. And yes, one of them does achieve while the other one doesn't. And to me, it's like Megan was lacking that. It's just Megan was just like, yeah, let's just destroy things for the sake of destroying things, which can be scary, but they didn't explain to us that that's like she's just out here. Megan is just out here for power and just, I just want to be an agent of chaos, right? It kind of felt like they wanted Megan to be this, hey, I'm here to take over the world for a reason, for a purpose, and I know I can. But they never really follow through that. It didn't feel like they actually had her be this actual AI, this artificial intelligence, right? There was no, like, they got the artificial part right, but they didn't get the intelligence part right. There was nothing that made sense about it. But anyways, that was my overall experience with this movie. So as I said, 45 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes. That's about right. So I hope you guys liked my review of the movie Megan. So thank you, Tara and Lashes Journey, for being here, and for everybody else that had come in earlier. I saw that Mary Salvador had in earlier. So did Olan's Moto, Boss Locote, and Serge Gonzaga also came in. And I believe, yeah, a couple of your other alternative profiles came in as well, Tara. So thank you very much for that. But thanks again, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you are watching on the replay, please leave me a like and a comment as to what your thoughts of the movie, if you did go see the movie. Or if you have any questions or suggestions, don't be afraid to leave a comment. I do have my email on the About page if you guys want to send me an email, either to do a collaboration, maybe you need me to edit a video, or like I said, you just want to make a suggestion or comment privately. So I hope you guys have a great Sunday. As you guys see, I do have quite a few videos coming out. Every Saturday, I try to publish a short video on arts. And I do, like I said in other videos, I do like now recording my videos more now. So I probably will get in a habit of pre-recording videos and make less of a focus on my lives. But hey, lives are still a good thing to do, and I will still do it, just probably not as often. So I hope you guys have a great day and enjoyed my video. So this is it for me today, guys. So bye. Have a great day, guys. And hasta luego. Au revoir.